The sun had barely risen over the red earth parts of Eduka village when Zaina stumbled into the clearing, panting, her heart hammering as if it wanted to escape her chest. She didn't notice the dew soaking her bare feet, nor the birds that scattered at her sudden appearance. All she felt was the bitter taste of failure gnawing at her throat. Only hours ago, the high priest had announced the prince's choice, and the name she had hoped to hear had been spoken for another, Mirela. I don't understand, Zaina whispered to herself, gripping the hem of her dress. It should have been me. I am ready. I am worthy. Her voice cracked, the anger buried for years now clawing its way free. Nearby, Mirela had been walking along the riverbank, gathering fresh water in a clay pot. She hummed softly, unaware that Zaina's shadow had already fallen over the path behind her. She looked calm, her small smile reflecting the first rays of the sun. Zaina's fingers itched to reach out, to pull Mirela aside and demand justice, but another part of her froze in fear. Why her? Zaina hissed under her breath. I did everything. I am more than her. She clenched her fist until her nails dug into her palms. Her thoughts stumbled over one another, racing faster than her feet could carry her. If fate refuses me, I will make it bend. The villagers had not yet begun to stir, but the winds of gossip were already moving among them. Mothers whispered to one another, children peeked from behind doors, and the old men shook their heads, muttering about ambition and the poison it brought. Zaina had always known her beauty could draw eyes, and her confidence often made elders smile. But today, the same elders watched her, their faces lined with worry, sensing the dark fire that now consumed her. Mirela. Zaina finally called, her voice cracking like dry branches in the morning. The young girl froze, her eyes meeting Zaina's for a brief moment, a flicker of recognition and confusion crossing her calm face. Zaina. Mirela asked, her voice soft, wary. Why are you out here so early? I came to speak to you, Zaina said, swallowing hard. I thought maybe you would understand. You always do. Mirela tilted her head, studying her friend. I do not know if I understand what you feel now, she said gently. I can see your heart is heavy. Zaina's lips trembled. Heavy. Heavy is what it feels to watch the crown placed upon another's head when it should be mine. Mirela's hand rose slowly, as if to touch Zaina, but Zaina pulled back sharply. Do not, she snapped. Do not pity me. Do not speak to me as if your heart is free from desire. You know nothing of how I feel. The words cut the morning air like a knife. Mirela stepped back, her clay pot wobbling in her hands. Zaina, she began, but Zaina was already turning away, her anger boiling into action. That very evening, under the shadow of the Iroko trees, Zaina approached the feared Baba Oro. The native doctor's hut was made of mud and straw, its walls etched with marks of protection and warning. Smoke spiraled from a clay chimney, carrying scents that made Zaina's stomach twist with both fear and anticipation. Baba Oro, hunched and observing her with bright, knowing eyes, did not speak immediately. He waited, letting the tension build, letting Zaina feel the weight of her choice before uttering a single word. Child, he said finally, his voice low and gravelly. The heart that chases love with greed will pay a price heavier than iron. I will pay it, Zaina said, stepping forward, her voice fierce, trembling with both fear and excitement. I want him. The prince. Give me a charm, a way to make him mine. I will do whatever is asked. Baba Oro's eyes narrowed. You speak as though love can be stolen, he said. Do you not know that hearts do not belong to those who seize them? And yet, his gaze lingered on her, sharp and calculating. If your will is as strong as your fire, I can offer you a way. But remember, every action carries its shadow. Zaina's hand flew to her chest. I do not care. I will not be denied again. A smile, thin and knowing, crept across Baba Oro's face. He reached into the folds of his robe and pulled out a small, dark charm, carved with ancient symbols. Place this where he will step, he instructed. When he touches it, his heart will follow yours. But heed me, every soul tied by force will leave behind a mark, and your own will be heavier than before. I understand, Zaina said. She took the charm, feeling the power thrumming against her palm. Already she imagined Prince Conlema's eyes turning to hers, forgetting Mirela entirely. Already she tasted victory. Meanwhile, Mirela, unaware of the dark current swirling around her, helped her mother mend the woven mats used in the evening festival. Her calm presence filled the small hut with warmth, the soft sounds of river water dripping and her mother's quiet humming blending into a simple melody of contentment. Even as the village buzzed with anticipation for the prince's coronation, Mirela felt at peace. That peace, however, would not last. The next morning, Zaina positioned herself carefully near the palace path, her heart beating like a drum, her eyes fixed on the prince as he emerged, radiant and smiling. She slid the charm onto the ground with hands that did not shake, though every nerve in her body screamed. Her heart fluttered violently when Conlema stepped forward, his sandals brushing the charm, his gaze immediately locking with hers. He stopped, his steps faltering. A strange longing filled his eyes, his smile faltering as though the sun had been clouded. Zaina felt a thrill she had never known. This was it. This was the power she had sought. Mirela, watching from the edge of the courtyard, frowned. Something in the prince's expression seemed off. She stepped closer, instinctively drawn to him, but the crowd surged, blocking her view. Her chest tightened. Something was wrong, she thought. The wind whispered warnings she could not yet understand. Zaina's triumph, however, was short-lived. A faint tremor of guilt pricked at her, tiny but persistent. She shook it off, burying it beneath her desire. She could not afford hesitation now. That evening, Mirela returned home, unaware of how close the danger had come. She laughed softly with her mother, shared stories of her childhood with Zaina, and wondered why her friend had seemed so distant, so strange. But before the sun set fully, she felt a shadow on her heart, a whisper that the world was about to change, and change in ways she could not yet imagine. And so, in the quiet of Eduka, as the red earth drank the sun's last light, a plan both brilliant and terrible began to unfold, one that would test the bonds of friendship, the limits of desire, and the patience of destiny itself. If you're enjoying this story, remember to hit subscribe, leave a comment about what you think Zaina will do next, and give this video a like. The tale is only just beginning. The change in Prince Conlema did not take long to spread through Eduka. Within days, the elders noticed it. He no longer sought Mirela's counsel. He no longer smiled when her name was spoken. His eyes followed Zaina wherever she walked, lingering on her as if pulled by an invisible rope. Something is wrong, one elder muttered during a council gathering. Another shook his head. The prince looks at her the way a man looks at water after crossing the desert. Zaina noticed it too, and every glance fed the fire inside her. When Conlema stopped her near the granary one evening, her breath caught. Zaina, he said slowly, as though tasting her name. Why do I feel restless when you are not near? She lowered her eyes, hiding her triumph behind false modesty. Perhaps your heart is only confused, my prince. No, he replied, stepping closer. It feels certain. From a distance, Mirela watched the exchange, her chest tightening. She did not move, but her hands trembled. That night, she lay awake listening to the sounds of the village, her thoughts restless for the first time in her life. This is not how fate moves, she whispered into the darkness. The next morning, Zaina came to her door. She wore a soft smile, one that would have comforted Mirela in the past. We need to talk, Zaina said gently. Mirela studied her, then nodded. Come. They walked beyond the farms, past the laughing children and grazing goats, into the forest where the sycamore tree stood tall and silent. The air felt heavy, the birds unusually quiet. Zaina stopped suddenly. "You must give up the crown." Mirela stared at her. "What?" "You heard me," Zaina said, her voice sharp beneath the calm. "Refuse the throne. Tell the prince you cannot be queen." Mirela's voice trembled. "Zaina, I did not ask for this. I did not chase it. The gods chose." "The gods?" Zaina snapped. "Do not insult me with that word. You took what was meant for me." "I took nothing," Mirela said softly. "If you believe this is your destiny, then wait. Destiny does not fear patience." Zaina laughed, a brittle sound. "Patience is for those who can afford to lose." Before Mirela could speak again, Zaina pushed her hard. Mirela stumbled backward, her pot shattering against the tree. "Zaina, stop!" Mirela cried. "This is madness." But Zaina's eyes were wild now, her face twisted by years of buried envy. She grabbed the rope hidden beneath her shawl, looping it around Mirela's wrist as she struggled. "I loved you," Mirela sobbed. "I would have shared everything with you." Zaina hesitated for a heartbeat, the words striking something deep inside her. Then she shook her head violently. "Love did not save me. Why should it save you?" She tied Mirela to the tree, tight and unyielding. Mirela screamed as Zaina stepped back, her breath ragged. "Someone will find me," Mirela pleaded. "Please, Zaina. I beg you." "No," Zaina said quietly. "No one will." She turned and ran. Hidden among the trees, a young hunter named Kobe had seen everything. His body trembled as he waited, heart pounding, until Zaina disappeared. He rushed forward, cutting the rope with shaking hands. "Can you stand?" he whispered. Mirela collapsed into his arms, sobbing. She tried to kill me." "I know," Kobe said. "Come. We must hide you." They moved through secret paths, avoiding the village, until they reached Mirela's family hut. Her parents gasped when they saw her wounds. "She is alive," her father said, voice breaking. "The ancestors have not abandoned us." "But she must stay hidden," Kobe urged. "Zaina will finish what she started." That night, the village discovered Mirela missing. Wails rose into the sky. The prince himself joined the search, calling her name until his voice cracked. Zaina joined them too, her face painted with false tears. "Please," she cried. "We must find her." Inside, her heart pounded, not with fear, but with hope. Days passed. Mirela healed slowly in silence, listening to the distant drums of mourning meant for her. Her mother wept beside her. "Why does truth suffer so much?" Mirela whispered. Her father replied, "Because truth is strong enough to wait." As the coronation approached, Zaina returned to Baba Oro. "It is working," she said breathlessly. "But I want more. I want certainty." Baba Oro studied her carefully. "Every step you take pulls you further from the light." "I do not care," she replied. He nodded slowly. "Then remember this, when truth rises, it burns." And somewhere in the darkness, truth was already waking. If this story has you hooked, don't forget to like the video and comment where you're watching from. The next part will change everything. The days before the coronation felt heavy, as though the sky itself pressed down on Eduka. Prince Konlema moved like a man trapped inside his own body. At times he stared at Zaina with burning devotion, his voice soft and urgent. At other times, he woke from sleep sweating, Mirela's name slipping from his lips before he could stop it. "Why do I feel torn in two?" he asked Zaina one evening, gripping his head. Zaina touched his arm gently, masking her fear. "The past fights to hold you," she said softly. but your future is here. Her words soothed him, but only for a moment. Each night, he dreamed of red earth, ropes cutting into flesh, and a girl crying his name from the forest. He never understood why the dreams left him shaken. Hidden away, Mirela grew stronger. Her wounds closed, but her heart remained heavy. She listened as her mother described the prince's growing closeness to Zaina, each word like a stone in her chest. Maybe this is how it ends, Mirela said quietly. Maybe my role was only to teach, not to reign. Her father shook his head firmly. No. Truth does not bleed for nothing. When the time comes, you will stand. Kobe visited often, his presence silent but steady. The village believes you are gone, he told her. But some are beginning to doubt. Then it is time, Mirela replied. I will not hide forever. On the eve of the coronation, drums thundered through Eduka. Zaina stood before a mirror, her reflection glowing with triumph and dread. Her words soothed him, but only for a moment. Each night, he dreamed of red earth, ropes cutting into flesh, and a girl crying his name from the forest. He never understood why the dreams left him shaken. Hidden away, Mirela grew stronger. Her wounds closed, but her heart remained heavy. She listened as her mother described the prince's growing closeness to Zaina, each word like a stone in her chest. Maybe this is how it ends, Mirela said quietly. Maybe my role was only to teach, not to reign. Her father shook his head firmly. No. Truth does not bleed for nothing. When the time comes, you will stand. Kobe visited often, his presence silent but steady. The village believes you are gone, he told her. But some are beginning to doubt. Then it is time, Mirela replied. I will not hide forever. On the eve of the coronation, drums thundered through Eduka. Zaina stood before a mirror, her reflection glowing with triumph and dread. This is it, she whispered. Tomorrow, I will be queen. Yet her hands shook. For the first time, fear crawled into her thoughts. She saw Mirela's eyes in her reflection, calm and accusing. Go away, she muttered, turning from the mirror. At dawn, the village gathered. The high priest lifted his staff, calling for silence. Zaina stepped forward, her heart racing. The crown gleamed in the sun. Then a voice cut through the crowd. Stop! Gasps rippled as Mirela emerged from the palace gate, her step steady, her eyes clear. It is her, someone whispered. But she was dead. Zaina froze. That is not her, she cried. She is an imposter. Mirela's voice rang strong. I am Mirela, daughter of land. I was betrayed and left to die. Prince Konlema stepped forward, his breath caught. Mirela. The charm's hold shattered. Memories flooded back. He staggered. Kobe stepped forward. I saw it. Zaina attacked her. Baba Oro's shoulders slumped as the priest turned to him. Speak. I warned her, Baba Oro confessed. She chose darkness. Zaina screamed. No. You all wanted this. The elders pronounced judgment. You are banished. As Zaina was led away, she looked at Mirela, tears streaming. Mirela met her gaze without hatred. Later, the prince knelt before Mirela. Forgive me. She lifted his head gently. Truth has returned. That is enough. Stay with us till the end. If justice matters to you, like this video and prepare for the final lesson. Silence fell over Eduka after the judgment, the kind of silence that followed a storm when the earth was still deciding whether it had survived. Zaina stood at the edge of the gathering, her wrist bound with woven cord, her head high but her eyes hollow. The same people who once admired her beauty now avoided her gaze. This cannot be how my story ends, she whispered, her voice breaking for the first time. No one answered. Mirela watched as the guards prepared to escort Zaina beyond the river, the place of no return. For a moment, a memory rose in her mind, two girls laughing by the stream, promising never to hurt each other. Her chest tightened. She stepped forward. "Wait," Mirela said. The crowd murmured. Prince Conlema turned sharply. "Mirela." "I need to speak," she said calmly. Zaina looked up, disbelief flashing across her face. "You've taken everything," she said bitterly. "What more do you want from me?" "I want nothing," Mirela replied. "But you should know this, I never wished you harm. Even now." Zaina laughed weakly. "Then you are stronger than I ever was." The eyes met one last time. There was no forgiveness spoken, but something heavier passed between them, understanding. Zaina was led away, her footsteps fading into the red dust, swallowed by distance and consequence. When the echoes disappeared, the high priest turned to the prince. "Kneel." Conlema did so without hesitation. He bowed before Mirela, his voice trembling. "I was blind. I allowed my heart to be led by force instead of truth. If you will still stand beside me, I will spend my life earning that grace." Mirela took a long breath. The entire village waited. "Rise," she said. "Not because you are perfect, but because truth has returned to you." Cheers erupted, but Mirela raised her hand gently, asking for quiet. "Let this day be remembered," she said, her voice carrying, not as a victory over another, but as a reminder that no crown is worth a broken soul. The coronation proceeded, slower now, heavier with meaning. When the crown was placed on Mirela's head, it did not shine brighter than her eyes, steady and unafraid. The drums began again, not in frenzy, but in rhythm, measured, respectful. That night, the village gathered to eat and reflect. Elders told stories of past queens, children listened wide-eyed, and the air filled with something Eduka had nearly lost, peace. Mirela sat alone for a moment, watching the fire. Prince Conlema approached quietly. "Do you ever wonder," he asked softly, "what might have happened if she had chosen differently?" "Yes," Mirela said. "And that is why we must choose carefully every day." Beyond the river, Zaina walked until her feet bled. Each step felt heavier than the last. She thought of power, of beauty, of how close she had come to everything she wanted. And for the first time, she wondered what she had lost long before the crown. Back in Eduka, seasons passed. Mirela ruled with patience, not force. When dispute arose, she listened before speaking. When praise came, she shared it. The people flourished. And among them, Kobe the hunter continued his quiet life, content knowing he had spoken when silence would have killed truth. On nights when the moon hung low, elders still told the story. They spoke of two girls who drank from the same stream, of how one chased destiny and the other waited for it. They reminded their children that jealousy does not always shout, it whispers, and that is why it is dangerous. The narrator's voice slows now, deliberate, almost a whisper. Because stories like this are not just meant to be heard, they are meant to be remembered. If this tale stirred something in you, if you believe truth always finds its way back, take a moment now. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Share your thoughts in the comments. Was Zaina a victim of fate, or of her own choices? And tell us where you're watching from. Because somewhere, in another village, another heart is standing at the edge of a decision. And stories like this exist to guide them home.